Hey everyone, welcome to Got Questions, a space to discuss the questions that young people, Gen Z, are actually asking. We love this generation, so it's time we start listening to them. The aim is not to have all the answers, but hopefully journey together in discovery.
That's right. This content has been created by Alpha Youth. Alpha, also known as the Alpha Course, is an opportunity to explore the meaning of life, faith, and purpose in a safe space where no question is off the table.
Today, we're having an honest conversation surrounding mental health. This episode is titled In My Head, because this mental battle that we face, whether it's the current health of our mind or how we're coping with our current seasons of life, is internal, up here, in our heads, invisible. Tyson Fury, the heavyweight boxer, calls his mind his invisible opponent.
That's right. And our heart with this discussion is to be as authentic as we can with our experiences, but mainly to open up the conversation around mental health so that it feels less and less like an invisible opponent.
So let's get into it.
All right, before we get into the chat, just going to establish a couple of key cultures which will set us up for a win in our conversation. So Zande, do you want to let us know what they are?
Hey, our key cultures are that if we do disagree, we do it respectfully, that your opinion is valued, and of course, love listens.
Love listens, love that. So when someone's talking, you're not just waiting for your turn, you're actually listening to them, walking a mile in their shoes. So first question, and anyone can jump in on this. Here we go. According to Western Governors University, only 45% of Generation Z individuals say that their mental health is good or excellent. That is 11% lower than the closest generation, which is millennials. So what do you guys think is causing this? Like, what would you guys say is causing this like mental health epidemic?
I would say social media, because like during this lockdown, it's like obviously become such a big thing. It's already a big thing, but it's obviously become a lot bigger for the youth, and like it's just everyone's on their phone now. Like even the age of 5, you've got an iPad and just you're on TikTok, whatever. So I think like people's like their what's it called? Their expectations is a lot higher now, or like to be like younger now. I think you have to be like involved in a lot of things, and people start like feeling left out, and this FOMO is like really big now.
Yeah, because you can be really content like with what you're doing, and then you go on social media and Instagram and you see what everyone else is doing in the world, and straight away you're not content in your own situation with the sometimes like you're with your own family and you're not content because you're scrolling on like Instagram. It takes you away from the present situation, I think, sometimes.
Yeah. I think also, just answering the question you just said, I think also the fact that this whole pandemic has caused us all to be alone with ourselves. And I think because the pandemic kind of took everything we class as important from us, we had nothing to do but sit in our thoughts. Like we couldn't, the things we'd use to distract ourselves from our mental health, like going out with your friends or hanging out, it was all taken from us. And we're all stuck in like literally 4 walls, and you literally had to be stuck with your thoughts. You had to be stuck with your family, your friends, everything you would use a distraction from your mental health. It was taken from us. So I think that's kind of what has brought up a lot during this time.
Yeah. I feel like the pandemic also was given an opportunity for people to pick up good habits, but also it amplified bad habits. Right. Whether that be just like staring at your phone or looking at social media or just like trying to figure out what everyone else is doing, you're paying more attention to than you probably did before. And so I think everything was amplified. If you had good habits before, that was amplified. But if you had bad habits, and that was even more so, which is really hard.
How do you undo those bad habits, though? Do you guys have anything that you're just like, okay, this is how I lived, I don't know, and this is what I've seen, and I don't want to be like a consumer of it, or I don't want to be identified with it. Like, how do you then like reverse, let's say, some bad habits that you might have picked up?
I think being honest about it, and not being shameful. I've realized like when bad habits, I can't think of anything right now, but some of the things I did, I think I told one of my friends like, I've been doing this now, and I think just being open and being honest and be like, you've been staring at your phone more, so I think you need to go back a bit.
That screen time comes up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it literally humbles you, because you're like, wow, 10%. You've been spending like 10% more than you usually do. I think just not feeling shameful for your bad habits, I guess.
I think like what I was touching on was the word accountability. I think like it helps so much. Like if you know you're maybe not doing the best thing, if you know, either check yourself and like, you know, like you said, check your screen time, but also like if you've got your friends around you, like, yo guys, I am not doing anything right now and I'm just becoming lazy. Or it's like maybe we should like go out and do something like active. Obviously, like during COVID, that was a lot harder. But even if it's like, you know, can we guys just hop onto a chat and so we just like talk? Maybe that's like a healthier thing for us to do right now.
So you guys are quite open with like chatting about how you're feeling with your friends?
I wouldn't, yeah, I think it depends. I've realized that, you know, you should choose wisely who you're kind of speaking to, because some people can speak life into you, and then some people can be like, oh yeah, it's okay, you're doing nothing, it's fine. Where you want someone to kind of almost, not challenge you, but also push you. That's kind of, so I think I think lockdown has taught me to realize what kind of friends I'm kind of sharing stuff with. So my closest friends, who I know they'll keep me accountable, I'm okay with sharing stuff with them because I know they'll speak life into me. And some people, some people will be like, yeah, what you're doing is cool. But I think just checking which friends, I guess, knowing which friends you can go to. I'm not saying picking and choosing, but I'm saying just be aware of yourself, like who are the people who are going to push me.
So you guys have both spoken about accountability. I'd love to ask you guys, so do you feel as if, I feel as if this generation is more open about their mental health. Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think that they've taken upon themselves to be like almost advocates and be more open?
I think lots of us I think we all know someone that has potentially committed suicide or been struggling. And I think it's from that we now realise, there's an issue in our society, we need to talk about this. But I think one of the issues is, it's great for people in lockdown who have that friendship group they can be honest with. That's great, but a lot of people don't have that, and they're stuck in isolation on their own. And even if they do have good friends, it is like you say, being okay and being open and not having, I think some of us do have pride and we don't want to tell people that we're struggling, when actually when we do that, if you have the right people around you, that supportive community, they're like, me too, I'm here, let's do this together. Whereas if you don't have that, you can have community, but it might be the wrong people, so it can influence you badly. So, yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think that some people are alone in, like, they don't have someone they can talk to. But I think social media can also be, like, a good thing, because obviously when someone doesn't have someone they can talk to, like, at home or, like, a friend, social media can be, like, a community. And it's like, it's helped a lot to, like, they've normalized, like, men, like, with feelings and stuff, and it's just helped a lot. So I think, yeah, social media can also be a good thing when it comes to trying to get a community and normalizing.
Even like gaming, I know we see it as like a bad thing, and sometimes it is like too much time on the screen, but people create communities, don't they? And they're on games with other people and they're like chatting, so
Yeah,
it's not always a bad thing.
Yeah. I do think what you said is very true, because it's very 50-50. I think social media has been one of the things that's made it okay to speak about your mental health, because people have been more open, especially people who are influencers. They are more open about their mental health, and you're like, okay, so it's not me just going through this, it's other people. And it almost makes it a very normal thing. So when you speak about it, you don't think you're speaking about something strange. You feel like, oh, I'm speaking about something that loads of people are speaking about, so it's okay. So I think that's one of the reasons why it's been like okay in this time right now.
What would you guys say when it comes to you guys and your own mental health? Like, and you don't have to say anything you don't want to, but what does it look like for you guys? You know, if you have struggled with your mental health, is it worry? Is it anxiety? Is it depression? Like, what does it actually look like?
I think it's a roller coaster. I think that's the best way I would describe my mental health. I've been like, there's moments where I've had like, oh, I'm good. And then there's moments where I've been like down. So I think, because I started in therapy recently, and I think it's just because I realized I'm going through a roller coaster, and I'm like, is this normal to be going through a roller coaster of emotions all the time?
I would say like a bit of anxiety. I think there's like, because I do like social media and stuff, there's like a lot of faces and people are just expecting a lot from me. And it can get a bit overwhelming and can be just like a bit too much. So sometimes it's just like I'd have to take a break. Social media changes a lot. So like there's always a new trend, a new trend, a new trend. And it's just like trying to be on there is just not the best thing for me, because I'm quite young too. So yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to actually like know how you're feeling, or like sometimes it takes someone else to be like, you're acting different, are you okay? And then, and also if you're not in community, you don't really realise you're not okay. So I think definitely like, I think I've had maybe someone tell me like, oh, you're acting like you're not yourself, you don't seem motivated, not into things that you used to love. And then it takes that person for me to actually look at myself and be like, oh yeah, this isn't actually, you don't have to be in this depression. There's life. And it's like, you know, when you go on like a walk and you see the nature, there are days when you're like amazed by the beauty of God's creation. There are days when someone else is like, look how, like my mum will be like, look how amazing the sky is. And I'm like, can you just shut up? Like, you're, I don't know, like people do say it's like a cloud over your head, but you just can't see, you're just like in a meh, like, so you'd be able to do anything. Like in the morning, like nothing's exciting. And I think that's the issue with lockdown, is that it became mundane. You get stuck in the mundane, like getting up. Like there's only so many walks you can do, and it's like, it takes effort to be like, right, let's do something different today. Let's try and do a different walk.
Guys, this has been a great conversation. We're going to be doing more of this. But for now, let's check in with our regional Alpha Youth directors who are gathering over Zoom. Let's take a look.
And I think as older generation starts to acknowledge what mental health is and how important it is, it also helps the younger generation feel more safe and comfortable as they're opening up. And I think overall, this just really pushes our community and all our generations into a place where mental health is destigmatized, and it's something that everybody can seek help for. And so yeah, those are my thoughts.
I don't have like science to back it up, but I think it also has to do with the acculturation that social media has given us, because we've learned to express either incognito when we had Hotmail and all the other old versions of technology, social platforms, or even now with your Instagram and Facebook, where you can indicate your mood and say what you're feeling. I think all of those things have subliminally conditioned all of us to be more expressive. It's a response from the change in the environment, largely driven by technology.
I think James also said it, that as the world evolves, we have gained more information and knowledge in the area of mental health. So, which kind of helps to break the taboos of mental health, right? And I think we're talking about like why other generations are not talking about it or more vocal about it is because I think mental health itself has been viewed kind of like a bad thing or been labeled a bad thing. It could be like they think like, oh, you're crazy, you're psychotic, which kind of created this fear of them acknowledging their own mental illness and preventing them to talk about it with other people and actually seeking help.
People can now be open about who they are and their mental health issues and any part about themselves, because society, specifically the younger generations, have decided that what used to be doesn't work for people anymore because it hurts them more than helps them.
I agree, Bonte. Like, I feel like it's really easy in the church when you're like surrounded by a lot of people who are like totally just on fire for God. Like, it's really hard to like be like not perfect, because the church is like sometimes it can create such like a perfectionist culture, like, and it's really hard to like talk to anyone else like and say that, look, this isn't an area of my life where I'm not perfect. Not just talking about like mental health, but just sort of in general with everything.
I think a lot of people in church just think, well, if you know God, then you should just be able to pray that away, or as you know God, that should just disappear. But actually, the idea that in the world mental health issues are medical and people have illnesses and there's things that you can do to help, that I'm not sure that's fully kind of seeped into the culture of the church. Yeah, in Scotland, well, from my experience anyway.
Amazing. How good was that, listening to like our global family? We're going to continue the conversation, and we have got two incredible guests with us. We have got Abby Young. Little ripple, please. Nice. And we have got Joel Harris. Right, now I got your bios here, or little sentence anyway. So, Abby, you're the communications coordinator for Taste Life UK, which is an eating disorder charity. Amazing. And Joel, you're the youth and students coordinator for Kintsugi Hope, a non-profit organisation creating safe and supportive spaces for those experiencing mental and emotional health challenges.
Yeah.
So good. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you just take a minute just to explain a little bit more about what that means and what you do?
Yeah, so Taste Life UK is a charity. It's based in Kenilworth, but we work nationally, so we've got courses running all over the country. So basically what we do is we train people to run courses in their churches or their communities to help people who are suffering with eating disorders and their carers. So that could be their parents or their sisters or friends that are around them, that to help them to equips them to like deal with it, and to fully recover. So it's a nine-week course. But our main product really is training people to go. It's like a domino effect. So we train people, they go out and run the courses. But then we also do it's called a youth track, which is a youth-based kind of product, which can be run in your youth groups or schools. And it basically is to educate, equip, and prevent people young people from getting eating disorders.
Love that. Amazing. Joe?
Yeah, so Kintsugi Hope is a Japanese art form. Do you know in the UK we break pottery, super glue it back together. Japan, they put gold powder in the glue and they make a feature of the cracks. Suddenly that pot is the most unique pot there is, and it's a lot more beautiful. And our thoughts is actually all of us go through hard times in life, and through life you can find beauty out of that, and we can repair, and there's beauty from that. So we create wellbeing groups in churches and coffee shops and schools, youth groups, where people come, they chat about their mental health and they learn tools how to look after their mental health. So I look after the youth and student side. So we're seeing groups in unis, in youth groups, in schools.
Amazing, I love that. All right, well, the floor is open. Anyone wants to ask these guys any questions, go for it.
In terms of mental health, what are the practical ways do you think that people can deal with it?
Yeah, sure. So for us, we think exercise is really helpful, going outside and working out, anything like that, getting outside. Talking to people is what we really promote, because I'm not sure about you, but when you've got a friend, when you know someone's coming alongside you, actually suddenly life's not that hard anymore. It's not as hard. You've got someone to lean on. So talk to someone, get out. And we talk about journaling a lot. I'm not sure about you, but I really have loads of stuff going on up here. I need to get it out. So having a space where you can just journal your thoughts and just get it out on paper is really helpful to realise what you're thinking.
With like the exercise, I think when you are struggling with your mental health, sometimes the hardest thing is to get outside.
Yeah.
Like, have you got any tips on like how to like motivate yourself to do exercise?
I think it's, for me, especially, I really struggle with that. So I need accountability. I need someone to go, right, Joel, you haven't come out of the house, go out of the house. So my parents know, my girlfriend knows, my friends know that if I'm struggling, I just need to get out. I just need to get out of my room and go out. So having friends who know what's going on and just going, hey, I need you to come out. And actually sometimes it's more calm, my friend going, hey, let's go for a walk, because I need to get out.
Yeah. I think as well, sorry with that, I think sometimes like, so we talk about this thing called baby steps.
Yeah.
So I think especially for like young people, we put so much pressure on ourselves. It's like, oh, go outside means run a marathon.
Yeah.
It's like, go around the corner,
Yeah.
like, go to a coffee shop. But I think when you take the pressure off and just do little tiny steps, whether even if it's to sit in the garden, and don't put all that pressure on yourself. Because I know for me as well, like it's like, especially in like lockdown, everyone's like running 10Ks all the time. It's like, well, and there's this expectation to do something, but actually just sitting in the garden sometimes is something to celebrate when we're feeling so rubbish. So I think like baby steps is a massive thing with like mental health.
Yeah.
I think it's important, that part of like having different options, because I know my experience during COVID was like, before COVID, exercise was quite a big part of my life, and it was actually already a way that I dealt with a lot of like the stresses of the world and life. But then COVID took away the gym, and so I went through a big period of like, I just got one of my biggest coping mechanisms was taken away, and so I suffered quite a bit. And I was like, thankfully, I managed to lean onto other things, like, I got to talk to some people, or even just go for a walk. And I found it so hard to go for a walk for the sake of going for a walk. And so, I feel like it's important to have, like, not just, like, one thing, but, like, various things to, like, reach out to.
If you've got a coffee on the end of your walk, I mean, that's good motivation, really, isn't it?
It's a good goal, isn't it?
Abby, when it comes to, I guess, eating disorders, do you want to just speak into that? So is it true that eating disorders have sort of increased throughout the lockdown?
Yes, unfortunately. So I think read a statistic that for Beat, which is a really well-known eating disorder charity, their helpline calls went up 90% over lockdown, which is just devastating.
90%?
Really. 90%. And I think definitely people just shot up. I think, like what you're saying, people's coping mechanisms and everything that we knew. With eating disorders, a lot of it can be about control. And I think suddenly the whole nation, the whole world felt like we had no control. And it can, that when you're with your mental health, that can have a horrible effect. So I think it really made people kind of face it head on, and people really did suffer. And I think when you're trapped alone with your thoughts, thinking, when's this going to end, it can just heighten things. I think in lockdown, mental health was just heightened to a point where it was kind of, people began to not be able to cope. But I also think in some ways, even though it's awful, and I think it has almost had a, could say kind of a good effect as well, because people have had to face their issues head on. They haven't been able to hide, and it's heightened all these kind of problems, but then people have now been like, no, I'm going to deal with this. So people are actually reaching out. So they've gone up 90%, which is really sad, but at the same time it's like, oh, those people are actually speaking now, and they're saying, I need to get help. So it's kind of like, it's been heightened, but it's kind of causing people to cry for help. So hopefully in 5 years' time we'll see maybe things have shifted because people have just realised, I need to speak about this, I need to get help.
The thing is, right, I think culturally, we've got a really bad relationship with food. And I feel as if, you know, you ask most girls or like most guys, it's all linked to like obviously body image and whatever else. Just like you said, it's being able to like control something, right? And I think my question for you would be like, how do you know you have an eating disorder? Because how can you identify? Maybe if you've had like bad patterns, you've only been taught to only know bad patterns of eating. How do you then know if you have an eating disorder?
Yeah, no, I think it's such a broad spectrum. And I think when people hear about eating disorders, they might just hear of like a term like anorexia or bulimia, and they might think, oh, I know someone in school or something that suffered with that. But actually, there's kind of stages before that, which might be like disordered eating. And if you can kind of catch your stages in disordered eating, where you might be obsessing about food, obsessing over what you've eaten, or maybe going to the gym too much, maybe running. And I mean, we did some filming a few weeks with a guy who, when he was 14, he became obsessed with the fact that if he was smaller, he'd be able to run faster, and he ended up in hospital. But that was never diagnosed as an eating disorder until way too late. But actually, if that had been caught, because at the end of the day, it's fed down, it's lies, isn't it? We're being told these lies on social media, and from a really young age of how we look is how valuable we are. So it's like if we, so I think when you go back to like the root of it, I think if you can catch those lies quick, then it won't develop, but it can be early on. So it's like you've got this kind of spectrum of obsessing, but you've got people who are hospitalised. And I think anywhere on that spectrum is valuable, but I think if you're here, you can kind of catch it. But it can be called disordered eating rather than an eating disorder at the very beginning.
So when you say eating disorders have risen in like lockdown, do you know, like have they all risen, or is it just...
Yeah, I think so. I don't think you can kind of pinpoint one, but I think, so like, for example, anorexia has the highest mortality rate. And I think in lockdown, I think that would have heightened a lot, because a lot of people who have anorexia, it's all about control. And that control has been taken away. But like also
but
people
then,
with binge
sorry,
disorder.
wouldn't you say they now have their control back because they're being locked in their house? They can go out and buy their own food. They can control how much they're weighing. Whereas when you go out to social situations, that's when I think anorexic people have no control, and it's very it causes a lot of anxiety for people to go out and eat dinner. Whereas a lot of people some people it might help them being in lockdown when they have their own they can make their own choices with food.
Yeah, sure, I guess, but then at the same time, it's like that could also make it worse because they've got too much control now. Yeah. So it's kind of like just life has changed. So some people, it's like, oh, I'm not going out anymore, but then that might have helped them being around other people, whereas now they're like not being watched as they were. Or for someone else, maybe their parents are now watching everything they've eaten and they're realising that they've now got a problem. Yeah. But in terms of like being specific ones, I think, to be honest, I think it was just the general eating disorders have been heightened. So someone who's binge eating or emotional eating is now got nothing else to do, so food is constantly on their mind. Or someone who's obsessed with the gym suddenly can't go to the gym, so that's been heightened. But yeah, it's just all, it kind of as a whole, it was just brought up and people really to focus on eating disorders.
So talking about like you go to schools and stuff, I go to school, so has anyone like my age, like 14 to like 16, come up to you and be more confident around their mental health?
Yeah, so in our groups, we have a lot of people chatting your age, going, a lot of things we've come out as actually one of the evaluation forms. A person said, I now finally have a voice. And this is really what we're trying to get is people having those voices. Because actually, I'm not sure about you, but in school, when I was in school, I didn't think the educational system helped me with my mental health. It's more about grades, it's more about getting things done than actually me as a person. I'm dyslexic, I'm a creative, I'm not made to sit in a classroom 6 hours a day. And that really didn't help my mental health because I felt like a failure because I wasn't getting good grades. And actually, I don't think that's where we're meant to be. I think school should be a place where you should be equipping people and raising them up. And actually, I'm not sure that is right now. So what we're wanting to do is help young people find a voice and go, actually, what are you good at? What are your passions? You love fashion, you're looking incredible. Like, how can we support you in that? How can you find a voice in that place?
Thank you.
That has been an incredible conversation, so important. Thank you so much, Joel and Abby. Really appreciate you guys. Why don't we just give it up for them? Thank you.
Yeah, so good. And just thinking, if there is anyone at home watching this and, you know, they have got mental health issues or eating disorders and maybe they are in isolation, they don't have, like, a good support circle around them, like, what are some practical steps they can do?
Yeah, please do reach out. It's the most important thing you can do. But visit our website at www.tastelifeuk.org.
Yeah, and our website, kintsugihope.com/support, and there's a filter on there, so wherever you're struggling with, you can find a place to go.
So good. So why don't we end today in some prayer? Would anybody like to pray?
Yeah, sure. I'll go for it.
Amazing.
Nice. Yes, Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for this conversation over mental health, eating disorders. We just pray that you are watching over us, that you've got your hand upon all of us. We just lift up all of our thoughts, our feelings, everything that's on our hearts, and we let us just trust in you, that knowing that you are there for us always. We thank you. Just name pray. Amen.
Amen. We hope you enjoyed our chat today. We'd love to hear from you, so please do get in touch.
That's right. And if you've never joined an Alpha course, they take place all around the world, and they're not just for you. Everyone of every age, background and experience can be part of one, and they're strictly inclusive, so why not join us?
If you want to know more, head to alpha.org/youth and check out our social media channels. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Ice cream.
Cold.
Hot.
Fire.
Water.
Ice.
Frozen. If I was a fruit, I would be a orange, because once you peel back the skin, there's lots more different segments.